What is going on, everybody? Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is Robert Greenblatt with another real estate story. I think you're getting a sense here that it's not always like it appears to be on television when it comes to real estate. So today I wanted to share a little story about Ruth and George and Sharon, and something that I've experienced quite a lot, and maybe it's something that nobody ever thought of, or maybe you have experienced it. So one of the things that we deal with a lot in real estate is the selling of a home for an elderly parent or parents. So in this case, I recently sold a home for Ruth and George, and Sharon is the daughter. And what happens in these scenarios, more times than not, is the elderly parents have moved to assisted living or something similar, and they are not physically in a position to get the house ready for sale. So several months ago, I met with Ruth and Sharon. George was, they had already, let me clarify, Ruth and George had already moved to assisted living. Sharon and Ruth met me at Ruth and George's house. You follow that? And there was a few things in the house still, and we sat and we talked, and they essentially interviewed me. I refer to it as an audition when we meet a new client for the first time. And there was still some stuff that had to get done just to fine tune the house to get the maximum value for it. And we talked through it. George was not physically able to attend that meeting. So we had a couple things that we had to get done to the house. Sharon had to bear all that on her shoulders because mom and dad are in assisted living, and Sharon was the one that had to help orchestrate. So with my help and some referrals of my vendor network, we were able to get some things done. So then what initially happened was the property did go on the market with Sharon's help, and eventually we got a buyer, and then it came time to prepare for a closing. So then what happens? So I was told by Ruth that George wasn't physically able to attend a closing. Now, it's quite common for us to have a seller pre-sign some documents so they don't have to sit at a closing, which could take an hour or two, depending on the situation. In this case, it was kind of difficult, according to Ruth and Sharon, for George to actually come to the title company to pre-sign the documents. So what did we do? We solved that problem too. We sent a notary over to the assisted living where they were living. Assisted living where they were living and had Ruth and George pre-sign everything. Then post-closing, we made sure that the funds were wired right into their bank accounts so they were not inconvenienced. The point is, and I told Sharon this many times throughout the process, that I could not have done this without her. So Sharon, if you are watching, thank you. Thank you for all your help once again in this process. You were a critical piece of this puzzle, and it was beautiful to see how you were able to carve out time out of your own busy life to help mom and dad get this piece closed. So I was fortunate enough to have Sharon put a 5-star review for me online, and I just wanted to share it with you real quick because it is testament to the relationship. When selling the family home, it can be emotional, sometimes frustrating, and definitely overwhelming. Robert Greenblatt was our lifeline throughout the entire process. He is extremely knowledgeable, courteous, and professional. He has never-ending patience, and most of all, care and compassion. It is a big adjustment for elderly parents to sell their lifetime home and move to a smaller, more manageable home. Robert has so much experience and insight in this area. He quickly, almost immediately, returned every phone call, text, or email, and always offered additional help when we needed it most. We could not have gotten through this phase of our lives without Robert and his team. Thank you for everything. I will be recommending Robert Greenblatt to anyone with real estate needs. They won't be disappointed. Well, it's a team effort, Sharon. I'm really happy we were able to get this chapter closed for your mom and dad. Of course, I couldn't have done it without you, and I'm grateful for the 5-star review. Have an awesome day, everybody.